They don't want to see heads whacked off.
No, they probably got enough of that in their living rooms at home.
Since their inception in the Hollywood industry, few movies have broken all barriers, set their records, and stood concurrently as an underdog. But Wayne's World, since debuting, left an undeniable impact on the film world, inking its name in history as the most sought-after movie in the early 90s. However, what is more interesting is that the final cut that made it to our TV screens wasn't a compendium of it all. There are hidden facts that could thrill you in a split second. Without further ado, let's explore 20 facts about Wayne's World that will shock you. Number 20. There was a tripartite combination in writing the movie, Myers and a husband and wife team.
Which leads me to a really interesting point. Okay, you got air guitars, right?
Every movie that finally makes it to the box office must undeniably have a compelling storyline. And to be honest, it will demand not just skillful scriptwriters, but those with experience. Wayne's World is a product of both adept and experienced writers. Did you know that 3 excellent writers combined their varied specialties to create a fantastic piece before the movie became a reality? It wasn't just a flex of ideas, but perfect teamwork devoid of sentiment. Myers and the duo of Bonnie and Terry Turner came together with a unified passion and crafted a compelling storyline that would later become a trailblazer for other movies. The Turners were writers on Saturday Night Live from 1986 to 1992. And when they got an invitation to join the winning train, they hopped on it without delay. Even though they weren't of a lesser value at the time, Wayne's World brought them worldwide sensation that changed people's perceptions of who they truly are. Number 19. A lot of fighting rattled the set, and Myers was at the center of it.
And here's a scene from Wayne's World.
My name is Wayne Campbell.
What if I told you that the movie Wayne's World, which made it to the box office, didn't just become the viewer's choice at a goal, but that many people paid the price behind the scenes? It's easier to downplay the sacrifices of these actors. Nevertheless, you can't deny that their input made it worthwhile. Behind the scenes came lots of drama that, if you had had the opportunity to witness, you would wonder why they fell quickly at the end with one another on set. Myers and director Spheris never got along. They were always not in synergy with their concepts for each scene. Myers believed that his vision for the movie was final, while Spheris, on the other hand, thought that every script shouldn't be followed accordingly. Sometimes there should be some last-minute cutouts. Some actors got sad on set because the duo never upheld professional conduct, even though they were professionals. They argued over everything to the point that they debated whose vision would make it to the final cut, and in turn hit the theater. Spheris eventually got tired one day and said Myers was difficult to work with and became harder to work with as the shoot went on. Though they quarreled all they cared, it may be necessary for the movie, as the final cut was a blend of ideas. Each scene mirrored a superior perspective. No wonder everyone couldn't stop singing its praises. Number 18. Wayne's production date was way earlier than it was purported.
And he was the young upstart and looked about 13.
The debut date of Wayne's World is 1992, but did you know that was only a camouflage to make a point? The time from when the idea became a script to when it finally hit the screen took longer than was purported by the media. It had to go through several stages so that the final cut eventually became a reality everyone loves wholeheartedly. Wayne's World began on Saturday Night Live, but that was not when the original character of Wayne Campbell became a reality. It had long existed before the movie was thought to hit the theaters. Mike, who pioneered the character in the sketch, gave a narrative of how it started. He confessed that he used to do the character back in his native Canada, and it was a complete representation of what he brought to Wayne's World. It was further revealed that he had a segment called Wayne's Power Minute on the CBC TV show It's Only Rock and Roll in 1987. Even though a few characters were added to the movie in the latter years of its debut on Saturday Night Live, it was only a continuation of what had started a while ago. Notwithstanding, the movie made its mark and should be respected for that. When it hit the theaters, it recorded numbers even its contemporaries couldn't match. Number 17. Wayne's World was the first SNL sketch adaptation.
And you signed a contract guaranteeing him certain concessions, one of them being a spot on the show.
Sometimes it is easier to mix up a movie's stats not because it was done on purpose, but because of the factors surrounding it. Wacky film movie hits success in a limited time. Oftentimes, debates arise around it. If not accurately managed, they could ruin the authenticity of the said movie. When Wayne's World first hit the cinema, many viewers began to drop comments on how they felt about film movie, until one comment downplayed its relevance. Someone claimed the movie was the second feature film adapted from a Saturday Night Live sketch. Even though this wasn't so loud then, it was a total downplaying of the producers' and directors' efforts to achieve this. They had always considered the Blues Brothers first, but contrary to what they thought, Wayne's World was the first. It paved the way for other movies to use a Saturday Night Live sketch. Indeed, Jake and Elwood did appear on Saturday Night Live, but they weren't in sketches per se, so that feels like a stretch. Regardless of how much critics try to downplay and water down the movie's impact on the Hollywood industry, it keeps flying on eagles while giving them the middle finger. Wayne's World is everyone's favorite, respected, and not disrespected with unnecessary comparisons. Number 16. The director was underrated.
And just then, that whole punk rock movement started happening.
It's common within the movie space to see several bad choices when it comes to the selection of directors. And unfortunately for the director of Wayne's World, she got a handful of them before she could even realize it. Nevertheless, her persistence finally bailed her out. Wayne's World was directed by the phenomenal Penelope Spheris, who brought life to every script. But before that happened, she was initially not given the benefit of the doubt. When she was first contracted to handle the Wayne's project, the crew members and actors alike frowned at the producer's choice of director, but there was nothing they could do to change it. Their uncanny reservations about her then weren't about personality, but performance. At the time, she didn't have general success in scripted film, so they questioned if she had the technicality ability to handle the project. However, contrary to what they had thought, Spheris blew the minds of everyone to the point that everyone began to render their apologies one after the other, even though she didn't have much success in scripted movies. At that time, she had directed 2 acclaimed documentaries that made her perfect for the movie. Spheris eventually proved her detractors wrong with this shoot, and when the final cut hit the theaters, they agreed they were all wrong in the first place. Not many producers turn their haters into supporters, but Spheris has to be the first in 100. Subsequently, after this movie, she had her breakthrough in a scripted film, and the rest is history. Number 15, the Bohemian Rhapsody was Meyer's greatest concern.
I have an extensive collection of name tags and hairnets.
Scriptwriters have to be some of the toughest people to work with, and in filming Wayne's World, Myers proved just that. No one knew why he chose to be this brutal at first, but it would later reveal unimaginable ways. Did you know that Myers had a fight with the studio over Bohemian Rhapsody? The iconic scene for many viewers in Wayne's World was when Wayne, Garth, and their friends headbanged to Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. However, before this scene made the final cut, there was a fierce battle between Myers and the studio about whether it should make the final cut. Some crew members observed that it was not something to behold, but Myers finally won the battle, as he was always passionate about getting the last laugh. This contention arose because the studio wanted a more contemporary choice, a song from Guns N' Roses. Myers was mad about their choice, and he refuted their intentions while threatening that if they didn't let him have his way, he would quit the movie. The studio eventually obliged to his decision, and the Bohemian Rhapsody scene came out the way it is. Sometimes it takes a bit of stubbornness to get things done. Myers understood this and stood his ground until he got what he wanted. Today, everyone talks about this iconic scene, but little do they know that it wasn't easy to come by. Number 14. Cassandra had pure musical talent that hid under the disguise of a movie role. Actors and actresses have to be the most talented people in performance. Sometimes one may be lost in the euphoria of their acting that they write them off in other aspects of life. If you genuinely want a picture of what I'm saying, watch the phenomenal Cassandra in Wayne's World. She is the clearest expression of many talents. The most interesting part of her life is how she switches to different modes. Did you know that every one of those songs she sang in Wayne's World wasn't done through difficulties or duress? She was a master in every one of them. Cassandra was the lead singer of Crucial Taunt, and Tia Carrere didn't need any help on that front. The actress did all the singing herself, not because she was being greedy, nor did she need help, but because her level of professionalism was something no one could take away from her. She did all the singing herself, including for the band's cover of Ballroom Blitz. She did it so well that her fellow crew members couldn't stop giving her a standing ovation each time she displayed her singing prowess. Once, the crew members took a bold step and asked her the question that had long been on their minds, saying, "Where did you learn all this from?" She smiled and said, "Well, I am just one hell of a talent that is skillful in many things." Number 13, it was the first platform for a comedy star.
Next stop is St. Louis, then he's gonna come back through Chicago on his way to Detroit.
Every opportunity, they say, can become one breakthrough, but certain ones have a 99% guarantee of a breakthrough. When this comedy star initially got a role in Wayne's World, he thought it was just one of those movies that wouldn't make it to the box office. But little did he know that it would become a breakthrough for him. He wasn't prepared for it, but it came to him on a platter of gold. Young Chris Farley wasn't aware of what he was up to, but along the line he became comfortable with it and a notable star in the movie. Wayne and Garth encountered a knowledgeable security guard played by young Chris Farley. Though his role was not elaborate, he showed he was capable of a global stage, even though he wasn't prepared for it. When the director saw his performance, he knew he would go far, so he gave him a hand of leverage. Interestingly, it was his first movie, yet he never acted like it. His experience was top-notch, to the point that the director praised him afterward. Before that timely role, he had only joined the cast of Saturday Night Live 2 years earlier in 1990. What started as a joke for him took him to the next level of his career, and he couldn't be more grateful. Number 12. The movie went global and eventually became a worldwide hit.
Excellent, extreme. Okay, now's the time for Wayne's World. Totally amazing, excellent discovery.
No one believed the movie Wayne's World would make a name for itself, particularly because its director was quite underrated at the time. Many thought it would flop badly in the Hollywood industry, but then again, one can only predict the movie's outcome in the industry when they can solely manipulate the laws determining whether a film loses at the box office. Wayne's World put all their threats under the bus and rose to become one of the most celebrated movies of the 90s and beyond. Wayne's World debuted atop the box office in the United States, and within a short while, it became the core of the moment. Critics looked for ways to downplay its relevance, but the more they tried, the more they failed, because it was brushed aside. The film accrued much profit for the producers, so they weren't at a loss after all their efforts. The film made a whopping $183 million against a budget of $20 million. It beat its contemporaries in profit and budget, and no one can deny that. It was the 8th highest grossing film of 1992 in the United States, and it's still the highest grossing movie based on an SNL sketch. The movie deserved all the accolades it got, and it's still getting. Hard work brought them this far. Number 11. There was a sequel that many didn't know about.
I don't know. I'd need a little time in a closet with a dress or something.
After Wayne's World hit the theater and established its name in the movie industry, making so much profit, the producers agreed that they would produce another sequel. This was shockingly quick to the actors and the entire crew, as they were not expecting it so soon. And even if it would later become a thing, not as quickly as they thought. This could be a signal to the producers, yet they refused to understand, so they went out with their plans. The days were set for camera rolling, but one thing would change. Myers was fed up with Spheris's directing style and needed someone else to take the reins of the project, but little did he know that she had a specialty she brought to the table. So Myers went ahead and contracted Steven Surgic to replace her immediately. He eventually began filming, and by December 10, 1993, the sequel was released. But guess what? It didn't record the worldwide success of Wayne's World. Even though it had a double budget of $40 million compared to $20 million, it only made $72 million worldwide. It failed woefully at the box office and never maintained the relevance it had from its first debut. At this time, it became clear that Spheris wasn't only a genius, but also one who knew how to draw attention with her role as a director. Myers must have learned that you don't replace people too quickly. You just need to find their deserving replacement before making harsh decisions. Number 10. Wayne's World would have had another storyline.
Sort of an adolescent suburbia heavy metal thing.
Writing a script requires brainstorming and creativity. If you aren't in for that, you may stop halfway in the writing process and miss it all. But if you can employ some of these strategies, you are sure on your way to becoming a passionate scriptwriter. When Myers began writing Wayne's World, he was left with so many options. Ideas rattled his mind like a free fall of water, and after much deliberation, he decided to choose one among those ideas. He settled on using the concept of Wayne as a solo character, and that he did. However, when they began shooting, the idea and storyline were changed. Spheris made a few observations, stating concrete reasons why the script shouldn't have a solo character. At first, Myers didn't buy into her idea. Still, after several back-and-forth discussions on this matter, she eventually won him over, but not without his consent to observe as everything unfolded. Spheris was right in her choice of decisions, which led to the worldwide sensation the movie ultimately became. Today, everyone loves Wayne's World, but no one knew that the script could have been different from what it is. And no one knows if it would have still made it at the box office. Number 9. Scenes were almost removed from the final cut.
No stairway. Denied.
Every scene comes with its adventure, and sometimes selecting the best of it all could take longer than expected. And when it happens, it may change the course of the whole movie. Choosing scenes in Wayne's World was tedious because of the many rules it needed. Usually, Myers and Spheris were the main people who chose scenes for the movie, and sometimes they leveraged external bodies to get the work done. They argued over and settled many things, and at some point the crew members cared less about their outbursts. At one point, there was a little mishap between the duo about whether a scene should make it to the final cut. It almost resulted in a subtle altercation, but somehow, they managed it well. Myers wanted to cut the scene where Stacy, Lara Flynn Boyle, crashes her bike into a car. To him, it wasn't catchy to the eye and would disrupt how viewers looked at the corresponding scenes. However, he didn't get to win the fight, so the scene was included in the final cut. Contrary to his initial belief, it wowed the audience so much that it became one of the iconic scenes in the movie. One cannot predict which cut eventually becomes the most iconic in a film. Nevertheless, one can listen to the director's instincts and roll with it. Number 8. Lorne Michaels' speech to Spheris.
And how do you coach them that maybe you could do a better job or be ready?
You can get almost anyone through it.
From the moment shooting began for Wayne's World, Spheris was passionate about her job. No matter the criticisms and doubts she received as feedback, she kept her hopes high. She was under the notion that whatever she could do to make the movie a hit, she would do it. She was open to suggestions and never assumed the posture of, "I know it all." One time, she received one of the finest instructions from a colleague, and in all ramifications, it helped her produce a fantastic piece that made it to the box office in grand style. Saturday Night Live producer Lorne Michaels offered the director timely and valuable advice that would turn out to be one of the best instructions a producer could give. He suggested to Penelope Spheris that she should hire Rob Lowe to play television producer Benjamin Oliver. Michaels explained that Lowe was going through a difficult period in his career at the time, which meant he was available and willing to take on the role at a very reasonable rate. He was battling a scandal, making getting a job harder for him. This singular instruction by Michaels was a turning point for Lowe, as he was cast almost immediately. Sometimes it takes just one person to believe in you so much that they announce you before your helper. It was a breakthrough for Lowe, and he won't forget it. Number 7. Change of plans in terms of the set.
I have an extensive collection of name tags and hairnets.
Before production happens for any movie, usually both producers and directors come into a binding agreement as to where a movie's set should be. This is also passed down to every crew member so that they become aware, and if some may have an allergy to the place, alternatives would be made available. Even so, Wayne's World had this all mapped out. But guess what? While in the middle of the shoot, a last-minute change was made concerning the set's venue. This initially was a thorn in the flesh for the actors. Nevertheless, they walked through it majestically. Though it wasn't as easy as it sounds, they were determined to make it happen despite the cost. Most of the movie's shoot was set in Aurora, a suburb of Chicago, and it was slated to be a 34-day shoot. Everyone had that in mind, but a set change became feasible while plowing through the various scenes. Even though the reason was not given then, they were all forced to obey the last command. Only 2 days out of the 34 days slated to shoot in Chidez were spent there. It was a burden for the actors, but they managed to pull through it all. The whole crew moved to Los Angeles, where the remaining scenes were shot. Looking back, the producers and directors will be grateful they made that decision. Number 6. Post-debut celebration of the movie.
Crimes and misdemeanors. I thought it wasn't so much a movie as it was an essay of man in society.
Since the inception of the Hollywood industry, many movies have walked through its corridors, but not many have received the kind of reception that Wayne's World received. Ordinarily, after its debut, its relevance ought to have waned, but contrary to what was believed, it became even more relevant in the eyes of critics. After the movie hit the theaters and made sales worldwide, some expected to hear something else about it, but it didn't happen. It was loved by the Auroran community so much that they created a way of celebrating it. They organized a 6-month celebration of Wayne's World using the hashtag #PartyOnAurora, and trust me, it was one of the finest celebrations that hit the town of Aurora in a long while. It was a massive celebration, so much so that even after 6 months, some took it further. Wayne's World became a celebrated movie not just because it made sales at the box office, but because all and sundry resonated with every scene. Wayne's World brought a whole new aura to the Hollywood industry, and when they saw it, they loved every bit of it and reacted in the way they could. Every cast member made the movie come alive, and even after many years, the Hollywood community still can't get enough of all its goodies. The celebration may not cease until eternity. It gets more interesting every day, and most viewers are happy they became part of it. Number 5. Dana Carvey got pretty annoyed with one of the Bohemian scenes that didn't resonate with him.
I was not 14 at the time, although on the script, the first page, it says, Garth finally gets his pew.
The Bohemian scene is one iconic scene in Wayne's World that caused much trouble behind the cameras. It brought lots of troubles, from how Myers and Spheris buzzed it out to how the actors felt awkward about it. It was almost scrapped at one point, however it did continue for several reasons. Carvey, who played Garth as he did on Saturday Night Live, did not memorize the lyrics to Bohemian Rhapsody. He just sort of flipped his way over it and did what he could, and most times it didn't come out well. This caused many problems regarding lip-syncing during the car scene. It was nothing to behold as he repeatedly messed up the shot. All efforts to get the best shot couldn't yield anything tangible, and after much trial he just sort of moved his lips the best way he could. This fired back at him eventually when the final cut was released, and in a recoil reaction he got furious. A part where he lip-synced was used, and it upset him in unimaginable ways. No wonder he wasn't happy with the scene at first, but he obliged because he had to follow the last command. Wayne's World, as simple as one may think it is, revealed the character traits of several actors, and this was nothing bad considering that everyone has character flaws. Number 4. The movie helped lead to a documentary.
Look, Stacy.
Where? Oh God, I made eye contact.
Life teaches everyone that just one acquaintance can positively change your life. It doesn't have to be spectacular, but just one good relationship can haul it in a positive direction. Myers understood this quickly and played along in some scenes of the movie shoot. He didn't have to put on his ostentatious regalia. He shoved it aside and did what he could do. Alice Cooper made an iconic appearance in Wayne's World, giving Wayne and Garth a lecture on the history of Milwaukee. He performed so well that even Myers was blown away. He also performed his song Feed My Frankenstein, even though Myers wanted someone else. He was forced to play along. Myers had wished to sing another song in the movie, but Cooper's manager, Shep Gordon, stepped in quickly and made the push for Feed My Frankenstein. For the first time, Myers had no choice but to oblige to his request. This singular character brought him back to the table of greatness, but this time it was of greater value. After accepting Gordon's request to allow the song Feed My Frankenstein, they established a relationship, and Myers, in turn, liked Gordon so much that they struck a deal. Myers directed the documentary Supermensch, The Legend of Shep Gordon. This relationship teaches that it pays to be humble because you never can tell who your next helper is. Number 3. Many knew Bohemian Rhapsody because of the movie.
We're a rock and roll band. We don't do disco.
It's not disco.
Then what is it?
The iconic Bohemian Rhapsody scene didn't just happen without any prior notice. It skyrocketed around the world and established a name for itself. This became possible because the movie allowed for scenes that explained it all. Today, everyone talks about Bohemian Rhapsody, but little do they know that it all started with Wayne's World. Freddie Mercury passed away while Wayne's World was still in production. At this time, the unmerciful hands of death took him to the land of no return, but he saw a bit of his technique. He got to see a cut of the head-banging scene before he passed. It was one of the emotional moments that rattled the movie itself, as many couldn't help but speak about his impact. His influence extends even to Bohemian Rhapsody, which is highly regarded today. Blistered by the film, it became a hit even though it was about to go extinct. It rose quickly to second on the Billboard Hot Singles charts, and a new music video was released that included raw footage from the film. It's not evil if Wayne's World is given its flowers, not just because of its theatrical prowess, but also because of its relevance to other parts of the sector. Spheris did a fantastic job, and she holds a stake in the history of movies that turned the world upside down for positive reasons. Number 2. Carvey was a musical guru as well.
You know, it's funny, when we see each other, we just talk all over each other. You know, he had 2 older brothers.
Oftentimes, most actors just hide under the shadow of acting, but deep within, they are masters of several fields. Though most of them choose to do it willingly, others wouldn't fail to do it even at the slightest opportunity they have. Did you know that Carvey wasn't just an actor and a musical genius? Kind of weird, well, he is. The movie Wayne's World revealed a lot that many viewers aren't aware of, only that it happened behind the scenes. A lot of the trivia in the movie is music-related, and one wouldn't deny that Wayne's World is music-related. Remember that Garth burst out with an impressive drum solo at the music shop? In the same vein, Carvey did it himself. He didn't have to rely on the help of others. He did what he had learned to do over the years. It was one of the most interesting things to watch. No one believed that part of him. Many thought he was only good at acting, and little did they know that he was so multi-talented that in whatever field you called him, he would blend in the most surprising ways. Number 1. A laugh was incorporated into scenes in the most unusual ways you could imagine.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Sometimes the scenes that eventually make up a movie are not always within the confines of a script. It can just happen when one least expects it. Nevertheless, it becomes the best scene viewers often keep discussing. While filming Wayne's World, a scene became notable because of a poorly planned feature. While Carvey and Myers were having a good time on the roof of the Mirthmobile, they did a lot of scenes together. Several scenes were shot concurrently, given Select the Best, but little did they know that something would be incorporated that was not part of the original script. While conversing, a question came along that became the core of the moment. This question, one that took longer than necessary for one of them to answer, became the driver that ushered in the unforgettable experience. Carvey ad-libbed the line asking Wayne if he thought Bugs Bunny was attractive when she dressed as a girl bunny. He asked this instead of getting an answer, but he couldn't get any. While conversing, another line was ad-libbed, leading to Myers' genuine, uncontrollable laughter. It was the kind of spontaneous reaction that cannot be rehearsed. The sort of break in character that feels so authentic it instantly pulls the audience into the moment. Even though it was not part of the original script and ultimately was not used in its raw form, the editors decided to keep Myers' laugh but place it right after Bugs' line. It was an instinctive choice, and it turned out to be brilliant. This small decision transformed the scene into something more than the writers had envisioned, giving it an infectious charm that made it unforgettable. They edited it carefully and used it because they knew a real laugh would always outshine a staged one. Their instincts were correct because the authenticity of that moment shone through on screen. Audiences felt the warmth and truth in it. It made the scene stand out and gave it a lasting appeal. Nothing would make them go back and change that choice. Myers was one hell of a guy to work with, full of creative energy and boundless enthusiasm. But his stubbornness, that unyielding commitment to what he believed would work, brought with it a series of changes. These were not just minor tweaks. They were visible, deliberate adjustments that shaped the movie's personality and gave it a distinct identity. Interestingly, these moments were never meant to be the emotional core of the film. The original plan had been to focus elsewhere, to highlight different beats and comedic setups. But the beauty of filmmaking is that sometimes nature, through spontaneity and unscripted magic, overrides intention. The chemistry between cast members, the trust in improvisation, and the willingness to adapt made those unscripted flashes the very heart of the movie. Wayne's World deserves every bit of the hype and accolades the Hollywood industry, loyal viewers, and respected critics have given it over the decades. Its comedic timing, quirky originality, and self-aware humor have permanently etched its relevance into pop culture history. No one with a genuine love for comedy can dare say it was not worth recommending. From its theatrical release in 1992 to the present day, the film has maintained its place as a trailblazer, a work that redefined what a quirky buddy comedy could achieve. Even after more than 3 decades, it still feels fresh, quotable, and endlessly watchable. Its cultural footprint remains deep, and years from now, fans will still smile, laugh, and sing its praises as one of the most joyfully offbeat comedies ever made. Looking at these weird facts, which truly resonate with you, why is that particular one? Please let us know in the comments, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons if you enjoyed the video.